Been out in the dating world lately. It's always been weird. More so in 2026 and when you're older. A couple of things I've realized. Dating online is like folding a fitted sheet. Usually doesn't go too well. I wonder if I'm going to add somebody to my great life or if they're going to topple it like a Jenga tower. And I'm unintentionally comparing people to the past, which makes me wonder, am I dating new people or am I dating old memories? I've talked about this before, and we all do this after a significant relationship ends. You grieve. Not only the person, but you grieve the plans that never happened, right? The trips not taken, the milestones not reached. There's a version of the future that you're building and construction never gets completed because the relationship ends. Now that I'm dating more, I find I get a little bit stuck. Go on dates, whether it's first date, second date, third date. I'll come home and, you kind of review it or go over it in your head and I'll feel like, I was kind of holding back. I was kind of blocking myself from really letting go and being free, right? And what I've realized is that I'm not grieving the person anymore. That part has been long done, or I wouldn't be dating. But what I am still kind of dealing with, grief-wise, is the comforts that a long-term relationship provides. There's certain things that you don't have to worry about when you've been with somebody for a while. You're known. You don't have to have that small talk. What do you do for work? Where did you grow up? How many siblings do you have? Have you ever been in prison? If you were you the big spoon or the little spoon? Did it hurt when you fell from heaven? It didn't, by the way. I was fine, honestly. There's inside jokes. There's shared routines. You can do the morning bathroom routine and you have those movements down so it's more like a ballet than bumper cars running into each other. You have somebody that understands your moods by the look on your face or the way you're breathing. A harumph. They know what that harumph means. Not having to explain yourself all the time or why, why you said this or why you did that or why, all those little things. Intimacy. Intimacy just isn't sex, although miss that part, miss that stuff, obviously, of course, but it's all these things together that creates intimacy. Those little moments that you can share, having a nap together, holding each other, sitting in silence, cooking together, all those little things create those intimate moments. And that's what I miss. When you're starting over and dating somebody new, you're back to square one. That takes time. You can't just get there. You have to build that, obviously. You're constantly going back to construction and building that foundation and going upwards. And after you spent years with somebody, it can be exhausting. It's tiring. You just want to get to the part. And I think that happens a lot more when you're older as well, because you've had those relationships that give you that, and that's the good stuff. It's kind of like that old t-shirt that's moved everywhere with you for the last 15 years. Yeah, there's a hole in the armpit, but it feels the best when you put it on, and it makes you the most comfortable. Because dating and starting over can be really hard, exhausting, sometimes I'll catch myself wondering if there's somebody from my past that will just magically reappear and show up and say that they've always had feelings for me, that they've been carrying this torch around for years. It's been burning, and now they let me know about it and we fire something up. Probably a better Hallmark movie. And it's a little ridiculous, but it's also human to do that. I don't think I want somebody from my past to randomly appear, but it would help have a foundation there already, be able to maybe skip a few steps and get things moving a little bit faster. I just want to skip that from scratch part. I want to get to the comfortable, having somebody that knows me already a little bit so we can skip those steps. There is actually a reason we sometimes romanticize old relationships and hope somebody from our past reappears, or, vice versa. Our brain tends to gravitate towards what's familiar because familiarity feels safe, even when it's not so healthy. I have one of those. I do have a girl that reappears from my past every now and again. Kind of like Halley's Comet, just in shorter increments. Sometimes I'm with somebody, sometimes she is. We sort of kind of tried dating quite a few years ago. Didn't quite work. She was scared, not ready. I was forcing it a little bit. But I've always been upfront with her how I feel about her. From day one, I adore her. She's beautiful and smart and funny. But I also realize that I'm her emotional fluffer, right? She reaches out when she needs that familiar feeling of somebody loving her and making her feel awesome. And I don't mind doing that. I have no problem with this. I know my role in this. And I feel this way about her. But it's not healthy because it's lopsided. It's one-sided. I'm not getting what I want and need from her. And I deserve that in any relationship, right? That's what I've come to realize. So sometimes we'd rather put ourselves back into an unhealthy relationship because there's enough comfort there to not have to deal with the work and exhaustion and dating new people and starting over and starting from scratch. Probably never going to sustain itself. If it does, it's probably not going to be that smooth. So I have to be willing to put in the time and the energy to get to know somebody. It would be awesome if you could just skip 4 steps ahead, so you don't have to deal with the things that come with dating. The uncertainty of being a match, having chemistry, attraction, that click. First dates, a little uncomfortable, nerves, not sure how much you should share, how vulnerable you should be, right? You could be a little bit guarded. Should you take a risk and let them into your weird little world? And then online, there's a whole other layer of things. Are they using old pictures or filters? Do they actually like the same things as you? Or are they just saying that to broaden their net, to have more matches? Are they actually into meeting in person and moving forward? So one of the biggest shifts that's happening now in 2026, and I've noticed this here in Victoria over the last year or so, many singles are actively looking for ways to meet people offline. In person. It's risen significantly over the last few years. So more authentic connections. Old school, as they say. Looking for that instant connection when the person is right there and you feed a want and need for real, familiar experiences or that connection. That's what I prefer. That's the dating I like. Even developing a crush on somebody, whether it's somebody at work or at the gym or where you see somebody frequently, building that tension, seeing it kind of grow and grow and grow. Will they, won't they? Should you say anything? That stuff's fun. That's the good stuff. That never gets old or goes out of style. Off the top, I talked about comparing new people to old memories. When you have a long-term relationship and it ends, the heartbreak isn't just emotional. Actually, studies have shown that some of the same areas of the brain that are activated by physical pain are activated by a romantic rejection. It's obviously why breakups can feel so overwhelming sometimes, even when it's not healthy. My last relationship wasn't perfect. We had our struggles, both together and separately, my emotions, her alcoholism. But just because the relationship wasn't healthy didn't mean the love wasn't real. Even with the other woman in my life that I mentioned that pops up sporadically, my love for her is real, but I know in both cases they weren't healthy relationships. Loving someone deeply, like with my ex, I truly loved her deeply, the most love I'd ever felt. It's absolutely why I stayed longer than I should have. I thought I'd be able to get to the other side and through the rough stuff because of that love. I thought that was enough. I was really proud of how much I loved her and how vulnerable I was with her. It took me a long time to get to that point. And I didn't want to lose it and start over and build that again with somebody else. It took so much time to do it in the first place. Now that I've had time though, I know that when I do get to that point with somebody new, that foundation is already there. The wants and needs from both sides will be met because that's what I've learned. One of the hardest things I've had to accept is that loving someone doesn't automatically mean that they're going to be capable of loving you the same way. It's happened to me a few times. It's a realization that's allowed me to forgive, and it's made it easier to move on and grow. Still, the struggles of meeting somebody new and learning to imagine a completely different future than the one I thought I was going to have is hard. That stranger hasn't had years to get to know me, hasn't built trust, hasn't earned comfort, and vice versa. So maybe the question isn't whether somebody makes me feel what my ex made me feel. Maybe the question is whether I enjoy this new person enough to allow them to get to know them, and vice versa with me. Is this someone I want to allow into my stable and safe world that I truly enjoy and have worked so hard to get? Brings up the issue also, I think a lot of us have after the breakdown of a long-term relationship. Is this the one I should invest in? You get that nervous. I invested in the last one, it didn't work out. Is this one going to work out? Or if I wait another day or week, will a better option arrive? Psychologists call this the paradox of choice. When we're presented with endless options, making a decision often becomes harder, not easier. Dating apps create that feeling that there might always be somebody better, one swipe away. So too many options make it harder to invest in anyone. Because when somebody's profile is sitting behind 1,000 others, it's easy to forget there's an actual person there. And that person may be the right one if we give them the proper amount of time to show us. So we touched on it a little bit, how dating is changing. More people want to be offline. Researchers have said that near 80% of people are burnt out from dating apps and are moving towards more in-person, intentional dating. It becomes like a game. You're sitting on the couch or on the toilet and you're just swiping. You're not really winning. Maybe you don't even want to meet that person. Maybe you don't even want to start a conversation with that person. So what's the point, really? So instead of swiping endlessly, more people are entering the dating world with clear goals and boundaries. I've noticed that here in Victoria. When I was younger, dating was all more often about, the big chemistry things, physical attraction and fun, right? It took up this much of what I was looking for and what I wanted. Now it's maybe this much with other things added into the equation. I ask myself different questions. Not that physical attraction isn't important, because it is. You have to be attracted to the person. You're going to want the person. You need to have that electricity. That's part of it. But there's also other things. Is this a good person? Are they kind? Do they have similar interests? Are they emotionally available? Are they going to give me what I want and need? Am I going to be able to give that back to them? Can we build a peaceful life together? Those questions are more important to me now. The challenge is that I've built this life over the last couple of years that I really enjoy. I'm really happy. So can I add somebody into my world that won't disrupt it, but will add to it and complement it? So with that, you have to be patient. It's made me more patient. I've always been very picky, but I'm more patient about finding those certain things because I don't want my world to be disrupted. I want it to be added to. So that patience can also make you a little bit lonelier, right? Because you're taking more time. So it means more time when you have those nights. There are those nights where you want to be with somebody. You want some intimacy, whether it's being physical with each other or whether it's just sitting in silence, watching a movie, going for a walk, what have you. But you miss those intimate moments sometimes. And you can have more of those when you're taking your time finding dating or trying to find the right person. I don't know what my next relationship looks like. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know who it's going to be with. But I do understand finally that it's not about replacing somebody. It's not replacing an ex. It's making room for something new. It's not letting go of the past. It's letting the future be different from that past. I hope you've enjoyed watching this episode as much as I've enjoyed making it. You can always reach out, weatheringit365@gmail.com. Share your stories, your comments, your advice, what have you. You can do that here on YouTube as well. Click and subscribe, and remember, weathering it can change the forecast.